This is going to be the job that I'm going to show you how to spot a higher prism than what the lens meter will let you. Okay, so this is still the Marco 101, and inside the reticle you can only get the rings up to 3 diopters of prism, and you'll see little hash marks for 4 and 5, which you can rotate this if you need them to be horizontal or vertically aligned. But in this case, we have a 6 diopter out for the right eye. So to do that, we're going to be using this, which is called the Prism Compensating Device, or PCD. All right, it's pretty simple once you learn it. A few little key points to remember, and you'll be spotting these like there's no trouble at all, just like any other single vision. All right, so I already spotted up the left lens, so I'm going to spot up this right lens. And I always spot left to right, and after I spotted the left, I was like, you know what, this would be a good job to show how you spot these higher prism amounts. So that's what we'll do. Now, if you remember in one of my previous videos, I said one of the easiest ways to remember, the vertical prism is pretty easy. Up is up, down is down. But horizontal is not, and it depends on if it's the right lens or the left lens. So, using my frame, this is the actual customer's frame, and we're doing, in this case, the right eye. So I'm going to position the right eye over the lens meter. So when I'm looking in here, now in my reticle, all I have to do is look for the target, which is the illuminated plus. And if this is like all sounding like technical jargon and you got no idea what's going on, please be sure to go back and look at my Mastering the Lens Meter class 101. Start at the beginning, work your way up, come back and watch this video, and everything will make sense again, I promise. Okay, I finally got it set up. It's definitely tricky. The resolution's not the best. It's a little blurry, out of focus, but hopefully good enough to where you can see it. So I got a 350 lens here. Just happens to be a lens we have, and I figured I might as well do a quick recap. So let me put this lens in. Here's my 350 power. So if this lens was to be spotted with no prescribed prism, we would spot it like this. This is a right lens. If we want to spot it, now this has already been cut, so ideally you would do this before you cut the lens, of course, but I had this right here, and I figured I better do a quick recap before we go to the next step, because it's going to build on it. Okay, so if we were to do a base 1 up, it would look like that. We would spot it, edge it, and that's how it's going to come out. If we want to do a base 1 down, we would spot it, edge it, and that's how it would come out, right? Now, this is a right lens, so if we wanted this to be a 1 diopter base in for the right lens, we would come right here, right? Now let me stop there, go back to this camera, and remember, this pair of glasses, if I put this, even if I put it right here, right, and I imagine my reticle in the center of this lens, as the glasses are facing me, someone's wearing them looking at me, the target, the highlighted lines, are toward the nasal, they're base in, right? So that's how it's easy to spot prism in a lens if you always picture the frame, right? Instead of, if it's a plus lens, do this. If it's a minus lens on a right lens, it can get confusing, and even myself sometimes. I just found this so much easier, and it helped because I've trained a lot of people how to use this exact lens meter. So grab the frame if you have to, or picture it in your mind and put it over your reticle, right, or over your lens meter so you can see, and put the center into center of the lens. And if your target is in toward the nasal, you're spotting base in. If it's out the other way, that would be one base out, right? So it's important to grasp that concept, because now we're going to use this. It's easier this way because we're not having to adjust anything. We're able to spot it just as it is. So a base 1, we're able to spot a base 1. When it comes to prism lenses that are higher than what the scale is in the lens meter, then here's how we do that, okay? And like I said, it's easy to learn, but some people get really intimidated by this PCD, and you don't need to be, okay? So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to leave this lens in. So remember I said we're going to spot this lens. The prescription is a plus 75, minus 150, axis of 90. I'll go ahead and put my axis at 90 now. And this is a right lens, 6 out. Now our work tickets are written with positive numbers if it's in or up, or a negative number. So in this case it's a minus 6 in, which means it's a 6 out, okay, on the right lens. So what we're going to do, it's a right lens, so normally we would be spotting it this way, right? But we can only go up to maybe 5, and it's off the scale. Now I know some people will cheat it and they'll use it. You do you. But if you want to spot it the right way and use the prism compensating device, this is how you do that. What we're going to do is, first we need to know, we need to use our PCD and set it the opposite. Okay, so if we want to spot this right lens at 6 diopters out, we need to put the PCD at 6 diopters in, right? That way when we put the base out on the base in, what happens? They neutralize, right? And then we spot it just in the center like we would any other single vision lens, right? So that's what we're going to do. Now the question becomes, you can turn this dial either way, and there are red numbers that go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 up, and there's white numbers. Did I say letters? There's white letters that go 2, 4, 6, 8 and up. Okay? Which do you use? Again, here's a really easy trick, right? I don't know what you want to call it. So if you can remember, the right lens, the target, let me go back to this screen. The target would go to the right, like this, on a right lens. If it was out, it would go to the left, like this. So we want 6 diopters out on the right, which would normally go out this way. You with me? Since we can't get there, we want to set this to 6 diopters in. So put your power drum to 0. Grab your PCD knob and turn it one way and turn it the other. And you'll see that this is in the red. I'm going what? I'm going out, right? If this is a right lens, I'm going out. That's the opposite. I want to go in, right? Because if we want to spot it at 6 diopters out, I need to put my PCD at 6 diopters in. So at first you may not remember which way to go. Is it in the red? Is it in the white? You don't need to. Which way puts you in the direction you want to go. You see my target now moving to the right, so I'm moving in. Now that I know what direction I'm going and what color of numbers, now I can look. I'm at about a 3.5. I'm going to dial that to 6. Now my PCD is set on 6. Now, when I grab my lens, I'm going to put it in. I already have my axis set, don't forget that. I put it in. My power, oops, almost put the wrong lens in there. My power is a plus 75. So look what's happening. Look at how it's lining up here. Right, and let me bring that down. I'll lock it in. Let me double check this. That's just a touch off. So here we go. It actually looks a little strong. Let me double check that. Back it off a little bit. Sorry, it's a little hard because of jumping around through these things. All right. Here we go. And we're set at 6. And you can see that the reticle is now all out of focus. It's blurry, but hopefully you could still see the target. And that our sphere lines are straight and even. When we go down to our cylinder, remember it has a minus 150 cylinder. Our cylinder lines look good. I always like to come back up, double check those sphere lines. They look good. Now I can spot it. A little low on ink, so I'll spot it a couple extra times. So when I take my lens out, oh, can you see that? Let me make the dots a little easier to see. This is a polarized lens, so you'll see that there's a guideline right there. Okay. Let's see if that shows up better. There we go. See our 3 dots? They were red. I painted them white so it'll be a little easier to see. And they are in line with our polarized filter, which is how it should be. So we know we got a good lens. And now we spotted this lens with a 6 diopter base out for the right eye. We set our PCD at 6 diopters base in. I hope that makes sense. Don't forget, mark your lens. It's the right eye. Make sure you put that prism mark on there so when they go to block it, they know not to flip the lens if they're trying to, cut out or whatever, or just not paying attention. And also so they know that yes, this lens was blocked with prism. It's a tradition. Hopefully, I'm sure your lab does that too, but in case you don't, or maybe you always wondered, hey, what's the little triangle? If you order from a lab like us and you get uncuts, now you know why. The prism has been spotted into that lens, so it's a second way of verifying it. Okay, so I hope that helps. Don't forget to reset your PCD. Some people go to 0. Let me give you a trick about that. My recommendation is don't rely on just a number. Yeah, if you're doing high prism 6, 7, 8, 15, whatever, the numbers are good. But you'll know how off your lens meter is. Sometimes you have to maybe add 0.25 or 0.2 to get it to center correctly. So that's something you need to know ahead of time. Let me set this back to 0. So now I just stopped. I didn't look at the number because I don't care about the number. I want this to be set up. We don't spot a whole lot of prism, even though I have a few more trays to do with high prism. But normally, you'll do all those at the same time, and then you'll go back. Always leave the lens meter at zero prism. Very important. Otherwise, you have someone comes. Yes, everybody should check. We always know that, but we also know not everybody does. So instead of having a stack of trays come out with being spotted wrong because they had prism put into them, just go into your PCD and manually, without even looking at that number, put it right exactly 0 or centered left and right. And there is sort of a parallax effect from the phone to the lens meter, just so you know. It'll kind of shift, but it's really not. And I'll double check it after I take this away anyway. So, well, I hope that helps. Video ran a little longer than I was hoping to, but I really wanted to make sure we kind of grabbed everybody and brought everybody up to speed. And now the same thing is true with a high prism, a vertical prism. You know, so if it's 6 diopters base up, you can use your PCD, rotate it, so, and when you adjust it, it goes vertically up and down. You can do 6 down. Spot your lens right on normal, and when you use your PCD, you want to make sure you do the opposite, so that when you do spot the lens, you're neutralizing. You know, you're taking you want to do a 6 diopter out lens. You need to put your PCD as 6 diopters in. It should always be the opposite, because you're using it to go beyond what the scale is. If you're using just in the scale, you're not using the PCD, then of course you don't need to do that at all. You would just spot in is in, out is out, up is up, down is down, and so on. Only with the PCD, the prism compensating device, do you need to truly compensate. Hope that makes sense. Thanks again for watching. Hope this, if I missed anything or you got questions, something I didn't explain, be sure to leave them in the comments. I read every one, and I appreciate your feedback. Thanks for watching.